Welcome back to the Tell Me More podcast for Run Radio. I'm Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, Jamar Root. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So you started just not even about a year ago, your very own podcast brand. You've been working hard at it, and you've even went so far as to put 10 steps together to help people find their own passion.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about this, because it seems like right now podcasting, everybody's doing it. And it's great though, because there's room for everybody. There's a
Mhm.
niche for everybody. So what drew you to this and the 10 steps?
Yeah, for me, the podcast kind of started with people always telling me, Jamar, you can speak really well. I bet you could really do a podcast. But I really had no idea what I wanted to talk about. Like, I wasn't just going to start a podcast about current events. And so I remember going throughout college, I think it was sophomore year, and I really started to feel like, I had to do something different in my life. I really felt like I was kind of doing things that I like the idea of. I like telling it to people that this is what I was pursuing, but I didn't really enjoy the process of it. And so I started to realize everything I was truly doing something and I was at my best, I was really enjoying the actual process of it. And I started to realize the importance of doing something you love to do. And I just kind of started reflecting on that. COVID happened, and I had the idea of like, let's get everybody to just do what they love to do. Because I started to realize when I was doing what I love to do, there's like this different, like this more authentic person that was just coming out. And so then I just kind of really reflected during COVID because I had nothing to do. And from there, I just found my absolute passion of helping other people find their passion.
Okay, so I feel like a lot of people, me included, struggle with finding that passion. I feel like a lot of us have a lot of interests and maybe even
Mm-hmm.
hobbies, but how do you know what the passion is that you're kind of talking about? How do we drive that out of ourselves?
Yeah, I think, and this is what I talk about in my podcast, but first, before you even start thinking about finding your passion, I think you have to start thinking about how you're going to figure out a way to be yourself. I think it's kind of impossible to find your passion if you aren't willing to be yourself, because then you're not going to try that thing out because you're waiting on somebody else to come try it out with you, or you're waiting on permission from this person to be able to even if you're trying something out, if you're not feeling like you can do it like 100%, you're not going to really know if it's the thing. And so I think once you've figured out a way to be yourself and to not really care what other people think about what you're trying to do, then you just have to start trying things out and then really reflecting on it. I think one of the big things, I was just talking with my cameraman a second ago, but we're really talking about how we really don't think about our lives a lot. Like, we're always listening to music. We're always watching a movie right when we're eating dinner. We're doing something and we're taking in, but we're never really listening to ourselves. And I think once you start trying these things out, you have to start really like asking yourself, okay, how did I actually feel? Did I feel like I was enjoying it because of the results I was getting, or did I like doing it regardless? And so the direct answer to your question, I think, and this is what I define passion is, I think you found a passion of yours when you truly love it, regardless if you get good or bad results. And so when I started my podcast, I was horrible at it, but I still enjoyed the process of it because I think it was a true passion of mine. And so I think you'll know when something's a true passion when you're willing to do it, regardless if people give you a pat on the back for it, regardless if you're getting these good numbers from whatever you're doing, regardless if your podcast has 1,000 views, you love doing it, even if nobody was watching. When you find that thing where you just love it because of the process and the process alone, that's when I think you found your true passion.
That's good. And I think a lot of times we don't get enough permission to like stuff unless we're
Mm-hmm.
good at it. You
Exactly.
are asked to give the results, show me the proof that it was good. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be that way. I love what you're saying. Like, I like talking about people. If we enjoy this conversation, who cares who downloads it or doesn't? So what
Exactly.
okay, so what does it look like for you? Do you feel like you have a whole list of things that you still want to try, or do you feel like you're kind of on autopilot right now? I mean, you're not very old, you're still pretty young. And so
Uh-huh.
how does that look like for you?
Yeah. One of the things a lot of people don't understand when I'm talking about passions, I think you can have multiple passions.
Yes.
And so I don't think it's like you find your passion, it's like, okay, that's all I'm doing. Like, no,
Hmm.
I'm like, and then if you were to ever like see me on a day-to-day, I'm doing multiple passions. I'm like, the morning I'm on this one, in the evening I'm on this. Like, I'm all over the place. And some people are like, don't you need to focus on one thing? But I'm like, all of these things are engaging my soul. And so I think it's so important, like for me, is to do all those things and to like really embrace all of them. So I think you should never really just say I'm autopilot with this, unless this is like I'm focused on this, you know. I think there's certain people that are like, they find that one thing and that's their thing and they stick to it. I think it's about understanding yourself. Like for me, I understand I can't spend all day on one thing. I just can't. Eventually I'm gonna be like, oh, like even my podcast, like I got to do something else. So like, I just have to, is the way my mind works. And so the question of, am I on autopilot? Is like, no, like I'm constantly like, the moment I get a new idea, I'm setting out my weekends when I have free time. I'm gonna try it and see what happens. And then if I hate it, I hate it. But if I love it, it's just more time I have to make out for something.
That is great. That's a great way to look at things. Now, talk about this. A lot of people, including, I'll use myself as an example, we try to always make the way you make a living and the passions that you have, if they can align, that's fantastic. But a lot of times they don't. So what's that looking like for you? Are you able to support yourself with your passions, or are you doing what it takes to get the income to support your passions?
I'm like, I'm very much trying to that point where I can just say, when I do my passion, that's enough money for me. So right now I'm in the process of building a speaking business where I'm speaking at schools, helping students find their passion. And I've been able to get a couple gigs, but am I able to fully sustain myself yet? No, the truth is no. But I am working towards it. But I'm refereeing volleyball. I umpire baseball. I edit people's video. I'm doing all these different things that are maybe outside of my passion. But one of the things I like to tell people is, when you know what your passion is and you know that dream life you want, all the things that may not be your passion that you're doing, I still go at it as if I'm passionate because I know what it's leading to. And so when I'm volleyball refereeing those games. No, do I really like volleyball? Not really. But it's like, I know what this is, the purpose for this is. And so when you start rewiring the way you look at things and start understanding, like, not everybody's going to be able to just do their passion. It's just not the case. Do I believe there's a way to make money out of every passion? I truly do, if you're creative enough. But in the meantime of getting to that point, reality is you're going to have to do some things you don't want to do. The reality of being successful, doing anything, achieving anything, you're going to have to do things you really don't want to do to be able to have something you really want.
Very good. I completely agree. I'm glad you're saying that, though, because I think we need to reinforce that to people, let them know that it's okay, because it is a process, and it's sometimes a clouded process on how to get there. So if we can bring some clarity to the different avenues to getting there, I think that really helps people and encourages them to go after what they are wanting to do. So how about when you're talking about reflecting on things that you've tried and seeing how that passion settles with you, or the experience, adventure you had, what are some tips that you advise on doing that? Do you journal things out? Do you have like vision boards, or what's that look like?
Yeah, for me, like in the beginning, I was figuring out on the fly. I was like listening and seeing what other people were doing and figured out what worked for me. There's multiple things I tried that just weren't me. And there's going to be something I may say in a second that somebody on the other side listens and tries it and it doesn't work for them. So it's all about finding what works for you. But for me, journaling is key for me. I have a journal that stays with me where I'm writing down exactly how I feel and why. And then I'm rereading it and trying to understand really like how this connects. So like sometimes I'll have something that was today, January 17th, that'll connect to January 17th last year. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm having anxiety in this moment, or that's why I'm not really enjoying this. And so the journaling allows me to kind of read the book of myself and start to understand really who I am, what I'm dealing with. And then I think for me, meditation is really good because I get to just sit there alone. Sometimes I try not to even think. I try to just focus on my breathing, but really allowing my mind to go wherever it goes. And it allows me to really know what's going on with myself. And so I'm big on meditating and then journaling like at the same time. So I'm meditating, and then it may be how I'm feeling, or maybe a new idea for my podcast, or maybe whatever. And so I'm big on meditating and journaling to gain awareness of myself.
You seem like you have a very heightened awareness as to things that, you know, that perspective and reflecting. Who's been a big influence on you and bringing those to the surface?
I'd say my parents, but then again, not completely, because it's like stuff I do completely different. Like
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't say I've seen my dad meditate or my mom meditate, but it's
Mhm.
like I just seen the way they go about life has helped me with certain things. But then it's also like social media can be negative and positive, but I found great resources on social media. Like Gary Vee is somebody that I continuously watch all of his content, has learned a lot from. And then experience. Like I think the greatest life lessons come from true experience. Like I have went through stuff. I have lived life. I've only been on this earth for 22 years, about to be 23, but I've went through some things, and those things have taught me lessons more than a book could teach me, more than a person could tell me, because it's personal to me. I know, like I feel like somebody could tell me the key to life, but unless I go through it, I'm not gonna really be able to like hold on to that lesson, because I didn't go through it. So everything I go through has really been able to give me this perspective. I had to work a job I really don't like to understand how important it is to do something you love to do. And so I think the experience of life is the biggest teacher when it comes to my perspective.
So what is next for you? Are you going to have another season for your podcast?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, so it's funny. It's just I'm literally coming from a meeting from working on the next season of my podcast.
All
And
right.
so the first season of my podcast was me 10 steps of finding your passion. But then the second season that came out about a year ago was about doing a day in the life. It's more of a show now, where I go through the day in the life of passionate people. I tried out with them. It's so much more involved now. Like it takes a lot more to make an episode. I can't just get on there and talk. And so mapping out the next season has been tough. I recently relocated, got a new cameraman, and we're like gelling and we're like getting things together. And it's like finally coming together. It's amazing. And so the next step is we finished our first episode. We're editing it, getting the foundation. And once we get the foundation of that first episode, we finish it. It's go time. And then it's just like we can just repeat the process, get different types of people. The first person we got this season is a boxer. So I was in the ring getting hit, looking horrible, trying to jump rope. It was funny. And then just getting new people. So like my plan is just to like really show the world what it's like to do what you love to do. Like how we spoke about before, like somebody's doing what they love to do, but they have to work that job on the side. Like I want to just
Yes.
really show the world the realities of like these people that are just going for their dreams. Maybe people don't understand them for it. Maybe their parents think they're weird, whatever. I want to show the realities of these people going for it and all the ups and downs, not just the highlights, but also the hard times of getting to that point. So I'm in the process right now, getting to the next season and just traveling the country. I plan on speaking across the country, and wherever we go, say I get booked in Missouri, I need to find one passionate person in Missouri to get on the podcast.
I'm in Missouri. That's where
You're
I'm
in
at.
Missouri.
I'm absolutely in
I just
Missouri.
said a
Where are
random.
you?
That was random. That was a complete rant. I was not
I'm
even connecting any
dying.
dots.
Nope.
But I'm
Well,
actually in Dallas, Texas. I'm in
awesome.
Dallas.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
It sounds very exciting. I do hope you will come back and share more with us through your journey. I
for
think it's
sure.
wonderful what you're doing. I think I'm I'm glad you're learning from your experiences.
Mhm.
I was about to say, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I'm glad you saw what you went through for what it
Mhm.
was, and you're making it positive, and you're doing everything you can to make sure other people are
Mhm.
finding passions as well, because especially this day and age, we need all the help we can get. And I think it's
Mhm.
fantastic. Thank you for sharing, and tell people where they can go to learn more about you
For
and
sure.
your
First off,
project.
thank you for having me on here. But you can find me on Instagram at root of Jamar. I was about to say rootofjamar.com. You can find me on Instagram at root of Jamar. That's ROOTOFJAMER. And then my podcast is Root of Everything. So it's just you're changing the last part, ROOTOF, then everything. And then my website is rootofjamar.com, where that has like actually a demo video of me speaking. If anybody would be interested in me coming to speak at their school, that's there too. But yeah, if you go to Root of Jamar Instagram, you're going to get everything that I do and consistent content.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Yes. Thank you.